London that's putting ribbons out with people's names on. And Emma's got a list to write the names on, and we're going to send them to Truman Human 2020.
Julian Assange.
Free the truth, lock up the criminals. Assange's freedom is my freedom, your freedom, your children's freedom.
True.
Don't stand up for human rights, you won't have any. This Wednesday. I'd like to, you know, for people that think that this Assange matter is small potatoes, they ought just ponder for a moment on our Attorney General, pretty well the highest position in the land underneath the Prime Minister, the head of the legal system, ASIO as well, I believe, getting $1 million donation from an anonymous person, and you trust them, you believe what they're saying to you, and they refuse to even reveal who gave a politician $1 million donation, and you think that that's not associated with some kind of political ingratiation or favours or payback down the line? I mean, how foolish can the Australian be to continue failing to hold politicians and public officials to account? The Assange matter is precisely that, and the same thing goes for the media. Even the media has gone soft on Christian Porter. The Prime Minister is not even prepared to toss him out of the bloody party. It's the most outrageous thing in Australian politics, and it gives you some idea why we hear about Assange. Politicians lie. The government lies. You've got to tell your children the government lies. The media lies. And that's why we're here. We're here for the truth, because the only way we can make Australia a better country and the world a better country is to be able to have an open discussion and resolve things in a sensible manner where everybody's happy. It's possible. It's possible. It's more than possible. It doesn't happen because people are making money out of the system the way it is. It's called the status quo. And people have to wake up. It's very, very important that the citizens wake up and say, this is enough of this. We're tired of the Liberal Party sitting on their hands and doing nothing to help Assange. The Labor Party's made a few nice words recently, but they've done nothing really. They're half-hearted about doing anything. Same with the Greens, you know, so I'm sure there'll be an exodus to the independents at the next elections, and I hope there is, because we cannot continue to rely on the duopoly and this, you know, triumvirate or whatever they are. We will just get more of the same. And we're seeing our human rights being thrown down the drain. We have no rights at law as it is, and it's about time the citizens banded together. Please come and join us Friday evenings at Town Hall. We're here until Julian is free. I just keep coming around to the fact that word of mouth is very powerful. You've got to have the courage to tell everybody. You've got to have the courage to very politely engage with people that are going to be abusive and close-minded. And at the end of the day, if they're nasty, it reflects on them.
He can go anywhere he wants, mate.
It's locked up. They're talking about.
Where?
Belmarsh prison.
It's locked up. Belmarsh prison. It's got an extradition hearing next week. So what they've got to do, dig the tunnel underneath, and then he can go escaping.
I wish we could, mate. I wish we could.
Get all your people over there, and then they can dig the tunnel and then free him up that way.
Here we go.
Someone who's survived the indoctrination.
And that's exactly how they work, isn't it? You know, do a distraction.
You're right. That is how the government works. Distraction and division. You know, and you know, sport's a big distraction nowadays. And you know what Emperor Nero said?
No.
Give them games. That way they won't notice what the government's doing.
Yes, I've heard things like that.
He was like, a bit like Scott Morrison who fiddled while Rome burned.
Ah, right.
So there you go, darling.
It's been going on for centuries, hasn't it? But hopefully we can be the ones now that break that cycle.
It's time. Dropping bombs on human beings in this day and age is ridiculous. It is so counterproductive.
Well, it's just
It
insane.
creates terrorism. It creates terrorism.
It's just insane.
The same.
Okay, cool, mate. Cheers, man. Thanks a lot, mate. Cheers. Thanks for your support.
So
We have a champion at giving out these things over there. I mean, he's a champion, but what?
super champion.
Yeah, this. See this?
Green.
Yeah,
Yes.
she just got one out
Oh,
then.
yeah, there she is, yeah. It's got updates on where it's at and all that stuff. His extradition here.
No, no, a red face mask.
Free Assange.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Oh, that was
Free Julian Assange, extradition hearing.
And
Next
I'm a
week,
Palestinian. We suffer
Oh.
for what? You know, I come from Jerusalem. We know
Yeah.
what suppression is.
Yeah, we're
You
not.
know, so
We're not that bad
Yeah,
here
yeah,
yet.
yeah.
So we're working
you know,
on it.
I know
We're
what's
working on
suppression, what's apartheid. I know what's suppression. I know what's.
Yeah.
You know, I could really feel with him. Like I could feel with justice. You know, so.
but a lot of people are not awake to it and they don't realise.
I think the rest of the world now,
They're
they
sort of
become
like-
more conscious, more aware. I mean,
Yeah.
unless I studied in the US, unless it's shocking that, you know, 2 million people would vote for Trump, you know, and they have the top universities. I went to UC Berkeley, and assumably, like, you know, free thinking tanks and all of that, and you get people who would vote for Trump. I mean, and then it was very clear, obviously, as you know, like that they tried to assassinate him. I mean, just for showing the truth. I mean, just for, yeah, it's sad. Sad tale.
I think that's out. Hey, free Assange.
You want a flyer? Take one home.
He's got plenty of info on him. Things you can do to help him out. Yeah. That's all about him.
Okay.
He said he's going to print lots out and give them to me.
Oh, great. We had a visit from a high-ranking police officer saying, have we had permission to put those banners up? Well, we said we just do it every week and no one's worrying about it. This is Kirsten. This is Karen.
Hi, Karen.
You're a movie star, Karen.
Yes, I just met Steve on Sunday at a stand in the park thing up in Wollongong, and then he handed out these. Thank you, I've already seen one, but I'll keep one to give someone. Oh, good. And
We'll get some more.
he handed these out, and I went home feeling very ashamed because I'd forgotten poor Julian in the whole thing, which is probably what a lot of people have done.
Of course.
But at the same time, I was awakened to the cause and went, well, now's the time to come, isn't it? Because he's next week,
27th and 28th.
which is what, Wednesday, Thursday, I don't know.
It's Wednesday, Thursday. You guys did a stand in the park.
It's all little tiny local groups now because, you know, the big ones that we come to in Hyde Park, you know, in lockdown, and then of course, you know, rubber bullets and things, you know.
Stand up for press freedoms, people. Stand up for your right to know. Free Julian Assange.
How many people have now had
extradition
their
hearing is next week.
Just because of your bright yellow sign in his face?
Mate, I would have loved to see leaks.
And did you make those ones? They're great. Can I put them on YouTube?
They're awesome. Where'd you get that from? Did you make them? Yeah, cool.
And They're stone, are they?
Yes.
Wow. And you hand carved them?
Like sandblast them.
Nice.
And
Like a template or something?
Yeah.
Yeah, gotcha. Sweet. I like that Julian one, that's awesome.
not sure.
The thing is, wasn't people for Assange. It was like free Julian Assange, so they split the days around.
Gotcha.
And you technicalise it.
Yeah. Oh, they're good, man. Good job.
Right, this is our 100th Julian Assange Sydney Town Hall gathering. We are here to correct the smears and the lies of the mainstream media and the complicit silence of it in defending him. I bet that the general public doesn't even know that Assange's extradition appeal hearing is on next week, the 27th and the 28th of October. Just to recap, I would like to remind people that the mainstream media has destroyed Assange's reputation with smears and lies, which has made it all the more difficult in defending Julian. The mainstream media has said that Assange released information through hacking. This is false. Information was provided to WikiLeaks by other whistleblowers like Bradley, now Chelsea Manning, who saw that crimes against humanity were occurring in Afghanistan and had the conscience and courage to expose them, and found WikiLeaks to be a platform to do this on. The mainstream media has said that Assange gave up his sources, which is also false. Chelsea Manning actually told a US hacker, Adrian Lamo, who then indirectly informed the US Army's Criminal Investigation Command. WikiLeaks have never given up their sources and have always protected them. The mainstream media has also said that Assange released information with a cavalier attitude towards those named in the documents, with a lack of journalistic professionalism in comparison to the mainstream media outlets. This is completely and utterly false. Multi-award winning Australian journalist who was working for SBS at the time and who is now a lawyer, Mark Davis, was present with Assange at the time the information was being released, with the mainstream media outlets, the New York Times, The Guardian and Der Spiegel, in an operations room dubbed the bunker. Mark Davis witnessed firsthand Assange redacting the names of those in the documents and wanted the information to be released in a safe manner. The Guardian and the New York Times went ahead with the information and published it anyway, with no regard for those being named. They took the information for their own gain and then proceeded to throw Assange under the bus, so to speak, to protect themselves. The Guardian's Nick Davies was key in doing this. Himself or no other journalist have been charged or incarcerated, even though they released the material through their outlets. Mark Davis saw that the mainstream media outlets, in particular the Guardian journalists, had a disdain for the impact of the material, a type of gallows humour as to what would happen to those named in the documents. So effectively, mainstream media journalists such as the Guardian's Nick Davies used Assange as a sacrificial lamb and scapegoat to protect their own interests. Another huge smear campaign by the mainstream media is that Assange is a Russian spy, complete and utter rubbish. Firstly, WikiLeaks released a cache of documents dubbed the Spy Files Russia in 2017, which had details of the Russian government spying on their own people through a mobile phone company named Peter Service. WikiLeaks were also very critical of the Panama Papers, exposing offshore bank accounts of high-profile people that named and embarrassed people like Vladimir Putin. He was supposedly very embarrassed by what WikiLeaks were saying about that. So that just goes to show that, you know, why would a Russian spy say things that put down that country? Also, just recently, a New York Post article stated fresh proof Russiagate scandal was created by the Hillary Clinton campaign, with federal prosecutor John Durham targeting lawyer Michael Sussman about his client when he met with an agent to share dubious suspicions between the Trump organisation and the Kremlin Alpha Bank. This was done after the FBI had disproved claims of Russian involvement with the Mueller investigation. Michael Sussman is in trouble for saying that he had no client in the matter. The records show that he billed his working hours through his firm Perkins Coie to the Clinton campaign. So yeah, he's basically lied and said that you know, he had no client whatsoever, and it was actually the Clinton campaign, which was just been uncovered. WikiLeaks have always been accused of Russian involvement in the US 2016 election by mainstream media outlets. A lie that is being exposed more and more as the years go by, with little or no reporting of it in mainstream media outlets. I suppose the saying, follow the money, rings true here. The mainstream media have also been silent on revelations that Assange was being spied on by Spanish security firm Undercover Global SL while in the Ecuadorian embassy. This alone should be enough to throw the US case out the window, as it breaches the attorney-client privacy. UK journalist Craig Murray was due to give evidence in this case until he himself was incarcerated for 8 months just before the case was due to begin. He was charged with jigsaw reporting. It's the first time ever a journalist has been incarcerated for doing so, and it's clearly just another way of silencing Assange supporters and to stop him from giving evidence. The mainstream media have also been silent on the revelations of the US's main witness, Sigurdur Thordarson, having admitted to lying about Assange. This should be front page news, though it isn't to be seen anywhere on the mainstream media. Thordarson has also been recently incarcerated in Iceland as well, so that'll make it difficult for him to give evidence as well, to say that he lied. And it's the US, they've built their case around this man, and he's basically lied the whole time. Other revelations of the US wanting to murder Assange have been exposed, though the mainstream media has remained silent on that as well. The silence of the mainstream media in reporting on these vital issues is a disgrace to journalism, and only increases our determination to let people know of these issues and help dismiss the smears and the lies that have been spewed out by the mainstream media about WikiLeaks and Julian Assange. Free the truth, free Julian Assange.
Would you like to say something on YouTube, Julian Assange?
Yes, it's a disgrace what's happened to Julian Assange. It's done a great deal of harm to the whole idea of common law. And the Brits have shamed themselves by the way they behaved.
Thank you.
Great to be back here at Town Hall, and it's great to see everyone back, and important hearing coming up really soon. I believe Adam Schiff, the Democrat politician, has referred the claims about the CIA. There's allegations that the CIA came up with plans to potentially assassinate Julian in London, in the middle of London, and there have been, as I understand it, there haven't really been any proper denials of that by the CIA, and Mike Pompeo's I think all they've really done is gone after the people they've tried to identify the people who've leaked that from the CIA, so that's not really a proper denial of that information. And that whole story has now been referred, or that whole allegation has been referred to some kind of committee or something for investigation. So that's a really good sign that the hierarchy of the Democrats are apparently or purportedly taking this seriously. So that's great, and let's hope that's another step towards a positive outcome, because we're sick of waiting. Julian and his family and his loved ones are sick of waiting, and it's time to bring this to a resolution. It's crazy that it's still going, so we need to get this resolved. And we want to welcome Julian here on the steps for a speech here to us as soon as possible, and we want him to continue the good work and to be safe with his family and his friends, and that's what we want and need.
I said to the police, I said, it's the politicians that are getting our people in uniform killed.
By and large, they're either stupid or some of them are, or they're aware of it, they just don't know.
They're going to bring in the big truck.
Yeah, like last week, yeah.
This lady definitely. Yeah, all right, okay. Come on, I don't want to
So lovely. We haven't been together for months.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's great that we're sticking it out. Yeah, the court case is next week, I think. Yeah.
Hopefully it'll go well.
Yeah, what have you been thinking about the whole thing?
I read that John Pilger thinks that he'll be set free.
Yeah. Whoa!
Hey!
Okay, here they come.
I'm going to get a bit of the action here.
I was hoping. So I thought
Newtown job.
And I'll be like, yeah, is that what we get to men?
That's awesome. It's only been played once a Assange's extradition hearing next week. Press freedoms are under attack. Your right to know is under attack. Stand up against government corruption and war crimes. Free Julian Assange. It's time to get loud, people.
Come on,
Your
then.
silence is complicit. Free Julian Assange. Stand up for the truth. Stand up against government corruption and war crimes. Stand up for your right to know. Stand up for a free press. WikiLeaks have never had to retract a single publication. They've never had to retract a single publication, WikiLeaks. They've always published 100% truth. They've had a few court cases and won every single one of them. No mainstream media outlet can say the same. Look out, boys. Free Julian Assange. Stand up for free press. Stand up for your right to know.
See you guys. Have a good on you. Take care. See you later. Pleasure.
Here it again.
maybe I'll keep it that way.
Okay, Justin. Oh, they've got something else.
Cross, hurry up.
The station. There's something happening in the station.
Kind of just gave a TED talk to Ryan about it.
Thank you. Read it together. Thank you.
We're edging closer to the High Court hearing on the 27th and 28th of October. A few of us will be here at 5 p.m. to show support and raise awareness for Julian on those dates next week. There will be support for him around the world, and his lawyers will be fighting for him in court. This is truly a fight for Julian's life. If the US wins the appeal, he will face more time in jail as further appeals go through the courts. If, God forbid, the US wins and Julian is extradited to the US, he would face a lonely and torturous death in a US supermax prison. That is no fate for a journalist. That is no fate for a man who brought the truth of corruption and crimes of big business and government to the fore. Supermax is a prison criticised as inhumane by its own staff. Robert Hood, the warden, said, "This is not built for humanity. I think that being there day by day, it's worse than death." By doing his job as a publisher and journalist, Julian has made enemies, especially in the US, where powerful people are baying for his blood. Lies and smears are told to dehumanise him and diminish support for Julian. Prior to his arrest, the US ordered a $4.2 billion loan to Ecuador, who had given Julian refuge. This eradicated much of the financial troubles that this South American country faced. The original arrest was based on conspiracy to commit computer intrusion. The US said that Julian helped Manning to crack a password. However, we know that Manning had high security clearance, which meant he did not require assistance from Julian or anyone else to access files. We know that Chief US Witness, fraudster and pedophile Siggy Thordarson lied in his testimony. The FBI had promised not to tell Iceland about Siggy's crimes if he worked with them against Julian. Siggy's now been arrested. How could we possibly stand by and watch an Australian citizen, a journalist, face his future without standing up and calling out the corruption? Julian is one of us. Despite the misinformation, lies and spying on Julian and his lawyers while in the Ecuadorian embassy, somehow Julian remains in prison. We all deserve to live in a safe, healthy and honest world. When a country spies on a journalist, plans his murder, tries to steal his baby's nappy to complete DNA tests, there's something corrupt and rotten in that state. The leaders need to be held accountable. Free Julian Assange.
The Julian Assange Town Hall gathering has now been meeting for 100 weeks. But the political persecution and psychological torture of Julian has been ongoing day in, day out for more than 10 years. Rising totalitarianism is now visible in plain sight, all around us. Our communications are now more restricted than most of us have experienced in the entirety of our lifetimes. Despite this, we keep fighting for Julian's freedom because we quite simply know we must. It is important for us to let people know why the freedom of Julian Assange is so relevant. The injustice of Julian's persecution is just one of many indications we have that we are being pushed towards totalitarianism through the corruption in our system. One of the very last things Julian was heard to say at his arrest in London was that we must resist. It is apparent that our governments have fallen, but it is pleasing that many people are bravely resisting. An opaque and secretive system makes it difficult for us to be fully aware of the extent to which our government and our media are lying to us. But we all know they do. We can all see false narratives producing divisions in our communities. At some point, the level of community anger is likely to reach dangerous proportions unless we can resist the propaganda and effectively communicate truthfully. No matter how justified we may feel in our anger, we must channel that anger into communicating the truth so we can collectively resist the rise of totalitarianism as peacefully as possible. We must always keep in mind the wisdom of Julian. If wars can be started by lies, peace can be started with the truth. We cannot allow the seeds of division that are currently being sown to take hold in our society. We cannot afford to have people fighting one another. We must all be aware that we are currently being ruled through a corrupt system and that the focus of our actions must be to replace this corrupt system with one that is incorruptible. This will require decent people who are able to discern the truth. We also need to support the widespread emergence of truly independent media. We must have understanding that authentic evidence allows us to make democratic decisions. Julian Assange gave us WikiLeaks, which is a successful model of a free press with a 100% record of publishing accurate information. So we know a truly free press is possible. We need more of it, and we need more people paying attention to it. In a few days' time, the UK court will hear the US appeal to reverse the earlier decision to not extradite Julian from the UK to the US. The appointment of Lord Justice Timothy Holroyd to preside over the appeal has drawn criticism because he has already revealed a degree of bias against Julian. He was the judge responsible for overturning an earlier finding that the US would not be permitted to appeal against the original decision on health grounds. It is clear that we cannot expect justice, but we must keep highlighting the injustice that Julian faces. We can be sure that if Julian is extradited to the US, he will not receive a fair trial. We must make our voices heard. If we don't unite and speak up for Julian, the injustice he receives today will be the injustice we will certainly receive tomorrow. Our unity is the key. We must be able to come together to overcome the advancing totalitarianism, which depends on our disunity. Those who have been compromised by corruption are desperate to create disunity among decent people. Propaganda which scapegoats people is becoming more overt. We must resist the temptation of blaming our problems on the targets of mainstream propaganda. We know what they have continued to do to Julian. We must stay with the truth. We must stay in touch with humanity. We will win this with our unity. We must help each other and keep fighting for justice. We will win this. With the unity of truthfully informed people, totalitarianism cannot take hold. Help each other. Speak from the heart. Strengthen community. Communicate the truth about Julian Assange, because the truth about Julian destroys the mainstream narrative. Resist totalitarianism peacefully, with the truth. We must all bravely use free speech to counteract the lies and the rise of totalitarianism. Together, we will win this. Free Julian Assange. Free Julian Assange. Free Julian Assange. Thank you. I think he's the local area commander of the Rocks, the one with the...
That's it. Got him. This is Gong Steve. Or Stephen.
I'm stalking on Twitter now.
Hey?
I'm stalking you on Twitter.
Oh, yeah. It's the same on YouTube as well. And that's where you'll see a lot of ours. This is our 100th week that we've been doing this.
Look at me with John Kilger.
Wow. Yeah, cool.
So I met him. I was so lucky that I met him.
Yeah.
So this is 3 years ago.
Yeah.
And I'm just sort of, I'm so happy that at least there's protests in Australia, Sydney especially.
Yeah, he's come
Just
to
for
a
him.
few of our rallies.
Yeah,
John.
yeah.
He's
So I was the
awesome,
luckiest guy to meet him, and it's like having him to speak about Julian Assange and the press freedom. So it was a good initiative.
Yeah, awesome.
So it's good he's not here, but at least you guys are protesting, especially during COVID as well.
Yeah.
Because it's very locked down, and people are just scared to sort of come out and protest on the lockdowns.
Yeah.
But Julian Assange is just as important.
Yeah, exactly right, mate. For sure. Thanks for your support. We're here every week, every Friday. So pop by, come and help us if you'd like to. Let other people know as well. And good stuff, mate.